You're not going to believe what I think is the biggest Xbox Series console upgrade over the last generation so far. Let's look into this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I would like to talk about Xbox Series consoles, maybe PlayStation 5 a little bit as well, because I want to talk about what feels like the biggest upgrade over last generation when it comes to current gen consoles versus last generation consoles, right? And when you think about these different upgrades, you think about better graphics, higher resolution, better frames, maybe better AI, etc., right? Auto HDR, so machine learning in use. But in reality, when you look at the numbers, because like graphics really looks very similar to last generation upgraded console, right? So Xbox One X still offers a very good graphics, right? When it comes to performance, there's some games that actually do run at 60 frames per second on Xbox One X as well, right? So it's not like we haven't really had that last generation. HDR was last generation. Yes, there was just a limited number of games like that, but still HDR was last gen as well, right? So what else? Yes, we do have a number of different upgrades, but not necessarily every single upgrade like that feels like a next generation upgrade. But I think there is one particular one which actually feels like a proper next gen upgrade, no matter what title and no matter what console, this generation console, right? Because some people love that Xbox Series S is not next gen console because it doesn't offer 4K gaming. Well, let's face it, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X don't offer 4K in every single game either. So does it make these consoles last generation console as well? Well, not really. But okay, so that one particular feature, one thing, one technology that really got a massive boost in terms of performance and stuff is actually the storage, right? So super fast SSD, and I know that PlayStation 5 has even more faster SSD, and the whole I/O system is actually great, and it's all in hardware and encoded and that kind of stuff, so developers don't even have to think about some of these stuff like texture decompression, hardware accelerated, right? It's all on Xbox as well. It just needs a little bit more work, if you know what I mean, on the developer side of things, and that will be done, but that's not the point of this video. My point of this video is to talk about two things really: faster load times, and genuine general speed of the system, right? And quick resume. So you don't really have that on PlayStation 5, I'm afraid, and quick resume kind of was available on Xbox One as well and Xbox One X, but it didn't always run well, and you could only have one game in quick resume state, right? I mean, that was not even called like that. It was called something different. I forgot how it was called back then, but I remember using that feature in Forza Motorsport games, for example, when I had like a race where I had to do like 100 laps, because that was like an endurance race, so it would take like a couple of hours to actually finish the race. So I would just split the race like for like a couple of 1 hour sessions, and I would use that quick resume kind of thing on last generation. But like I said, it didn't always work with every single game, and you could only use that for one game at a time. So first off, let's talk about that SSD, because it's difficult to talk about how games takes a better advantage of SSD per se. So these super fast SSDs did not change the way developers design games, not yet, so we're still waiting for that, of course, but at least we've got these super faster load times. And the thing is, like I remember, even like I was playing with Xbox One X the other day, a couple of days ago. I had a chance to do that, and you know what, like once the game actually loads, right, and you've got like even Witcher or some other games, I mean, they don't necessarily feel different to play than on Xbox Series X sometimes. With some games, I'm not talking about every single game, right, because if you run the game at 4K, I mean, obviously 30 frames per second most games, but there's some games that actually offer 60 frames per second. I mean, the Xbox One X actually still is a very good console, to be honest with you, even today. But the problem is the loading times, right? Because some games really takes a lot of time to load, like Red Dead Redemption, Metro Exodus, for example. Try to load these games, right? It takes 2 minutes to load these games, so you can start the game, go downstairs, make yourself a coffee, a sandwich, come back and still wait a couple of seconds for the game to load, right? So while now it's totally different on Xbox Series consoles, whether Xbox Series S or X, doesn't matter, right, or PlayStation 5, these games are much faster when it comes to load times. Yes, some games still takes like 20 seconds, but not 20 minutes. And let's face it, most games actually load faster anyway. But even if you've got games like Metro Exodus, Red Dead Redemption 2, or some other games that still, because let's face it, if the game is not optimized for SSD, and direct storage and stuff, some of these games will still take like 20 seconds to load, like I said, especially going from the very beginning. So you have to go through all the publisher kind of logo, then developer logo, then main menu, then something else. You have to click save, blah blah blah. So that adds up, right? So sometimes it can take like even a minute to load a game, to load the last save, even on Xbox Series S and X, PlayStation 5 as well. But with quick resume, that's actually a big change, right? Now, it works very well for me because I usually play single player games. So, unfortunately, quick resume will not work well with multiplayer games. Also, sometimes it causes issues with single player games that requires internet connections, because the sessions are, I don't know why single player games would require online connection and these internet sessions, but sometimes they do. So it won't work always well with these games, but like the proper single player games that don't require constant connection to internet, these games work for the most part, works great, and like literally takes 5 seconds to get into the game. You turn on your console, it takes 2-3 seconds to turn on the console. You hit the play button, and 5 to 10 seconds later, you are in the game. So that's actually a massive big change, because, sometimes I don't necessarily have a lot of time to play games. Sometimes I want to play Forza, for example, right? And I've got like maybe 15-20 minutes before like a meeting or I don't know, whatever, right? And I just feel like playing Forza or whatever, right? And I will just turn on the console, and I literally 10 seconds after I turn on console, I'm in the game, in the race where I left off, right? And it's just like so instant, right? It's so seamless. And the thing is that you don't necessarily appreciate that, right? Until you get used to it, and then try to play games on some older systems, like try to play games on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox One X, right? With these slow load times, right? It just takes hours, right? It's just crazy. So yeah, it's kind of like we take it for granted right now, and it's great that it's supported on both Xbox Series S and X. But I think like this is the thing that I guess makes these consoles like feel like proper next gen, because imagine Imagine having a console still with these slow ass mechanical drives. You know, yeah, they would have all that power. Like, compare Xbox Series S to Xbox One X, for example. I mean, one of the reasons why Xbox Series S feels like next-gen console is that fast SSD and obviously processor, because GPU and memory doesn't necessarily is better than on Xbox One X. They are kind of similar. I mean, Xbox Series S actually comes even with less memory, right? So in that aspect, Xbox Series S is even worse than Xbox One X. But when you get the console and you start using it and stuff, it feels next gen because it's actually fast. It's not only, you know, powerful as in, you know, it can push nice graphics, but it's actually fast overall. Operating system loading into the games, moving around and stuff, turning on the console, getting into the game with quick resume, it just feels next gen, honestly. And don't get me wrong, I'm still super hyped about potential of these consoles when it comes to, like, you know, performance, more games in 60 frames per second, better graphics, etc., etc. But really, that fast SSD is actually a game changer, life changer, I would say, when it comes to these next gen systems, well, current gen systems, really, you know, nowadays. So guys, I just wanted to talk about it because I haven't really spoken about, you know, SSD for a while, and yeah, I think that this changes the perspective on these consoles, and, you know, they just feel so much better to use, and they are so fast and intuitive, and you don't waste time waiting for something to load, basically, right? I remember like back in the days, I would just start a game, and while waiting for, you know, the game to load, I would just check Twitter or something like that, or Facebook. Like, you would have, you know, back in the days, I would have to find something to do in between these loading times, right? It's just crazy. It's gone now because the loading times are gone. And I remember, like, when I first got Xbox Series X, and I was like, I would load the game, I would wait for the game to load, I would I would reach for a phone to check messages, right, on Twitter or Facebook, and I would be like, oh, it's loaded already, so okay, I don't need my phone anymore, and I would start playing the game, right? So it's crazy. It's different thing right now. So hey, I love these consoles right now when it comes to that kind of thing. So guys, that's the video. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks for support. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care.